Hi, everyone. Joey here. Welcome back to the Practice Center, where we discuss all things mindfulness, forgiveness, and attitudinal healing, and how we might incorporate some of those things into our lives so that we're living with a little bit more joy and personal freedom. So, today I'm here to address what it means to become a facilitator. There are a couple of different ways that might hit you in your brain center, and there are very specific ways that we talk about it here. I'm addressing it right now, and it's mid-June because Dr. Fred Luskin with the Stanford Forgiveness Project has a Train the Trainer coming up in July. Some of you guys might have received an invitation for that. So I want to talk about what that is compared to what we do here at the Practice Center. They're two different things, and yet it's all converged into this one thing. Okay, so let me see if I can make sense. So if you are watching this and you are in the Mindful Forgiveness Practice Center graduate group in Facebook, that means you've all taken the Mindful Forgiveness workshop, either with me, Darby, Leah, Laura, Allison, Joan, Noelani. There are a few others of you who are doing workshops that are facilitators here. The reason that they're here is because they're doing a very specific process with the forgiveness work that we have learned through the Stanford Forgiveness Project and adding a couple of pieces around it that's specific to mindfulness as the way that Dr. Tao teaches it. And she's a professor at the University of Manoa. I've put those two things together and I call that workshop Mindful Forgiveness, which is different than what Dr. Luskin calls it, which is Forgive for Good, which is just the research stuff, the Stanford University. So I hope that made a little bit of sense. All right. So if you are in that graduate group, that means you've already done the prerequisite to become a forgiveness facilitator. That means if you've registered for that using the link that we've posted here, then you're set to go. You don't need to do any other work. If you're watching it in another platform, like the page, the open Facebook page called the Practice Center, then you may or may not have taken the workshop with me or one of the other facilitators here, in which case you will need to do your prerequisite work. And Dr. Luskin has a 6-hour workshop that's coming up this weekend, starting tomorrow, 17th, 18th. So that means you'll want to get on that right now because that is the prerequisite to participate in the training of the trainers that he is hosting in July. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you have questions around any of that, please comment specifically around prerequisites. Second piece, if you have done the Dr. Luskin's Train the Trainer workshop, because he's been doing it since the 90s, and then there was a little break, and then again for the last several years, many years, and years before I even got involved with that. So if you're only hearing through me, know that this work has existed before my time. If you have gone through that facilitator's training and it looks different than what I'm presenting to you here, is because it's two different things. You can go through Dr. Luskin's training of trainers and not do what it is that I do here, not do the 12-hour workshop, not do presentations, not present at different conferences. You don't have, that's not a requirement for going through his stuff. You don't have to sign saying I will host, X amount of workshops. You don't need to do that. In fact, I sat in that very same Train the Trainer and heard him say, take this work and use it in the way that will serve you. And so if it's for personal use, or you're doing 1-hour presentations here or there, or you want to just use it for your own family's growth, then do that. So if you are wanting to participate and you are a Hawaii resident, it's free to you. It is extremely limited to the space. So that's why you're kind of going through either myself or Susan Ford in order to register, because we want to make sure that the offer is for Hawaii residents first. It is funded by the state of Hawaii, Department of Human Services. And so we want to really honor that. There have been, however, international folks participating. So on years where we have not reached that quota, it has been open to other folks. So if you live in someplace else, parts other than Hawaii, you should move here probably. Um, but you're welcome to participate. So register and we will let you know if there's space for you or not. We will communicate with you. After you do that training, there's two parts. The first part is in July, then the second part will be sometime in September. So you have to know that that'll be coming up. And so you want to go participate in both parts. So you're like, I love this work. I want to dive deeper into it. I only spent time with Joey and I want to spend time with Dr. Luskin and hear it from the horse's mouth. And this might be a great option for you. Okay. So there are no additional obligations if you just want to do the facilitators training with Fred. So what are we doing here? So when you see me popping up on a video or you see some of these other facilitators, Myra and Joan, so these other folks, then what are they doing? And is that different? And the answer is yes. And here's the difference. So because this work is meaningful to me, I have created an umbrella called the Practice Center, where I really focus on other things that have supported me on my journey or other things that I've been funded to teach and facilitate through the state of Hawaii or other work that I've been doing already. So mindfulness, very specific, um, and separate to this forgiveness work is under the umbrella of the Practice Center. Also, attitudinal healing and that work is under the umbrella of the Practice Center. I've been working with this group or this idea since the beginning. So as soon as I finished that training with Fred, I was like, oh, I love this. I want to lean in. I immediately had a group because I'm coming from the world of groups. I've been working with small groups, large groups, speaking. That's the arena I'm coming from. So I'm very comfortable with it. And so that's the part of this work that I wanted to build up and support and mentor others around. So if you are like, I really liked the way that this style is, the 12 hours over 6-week period, that's something that I'm very comfortable with. And so I'm bringing that from my previous life and world. And then under that umbrella, I mentor other folks. That mentorship, that time commitment, what I do in terms of the monthly meetings, all of those things I do not have funding for. And I've been doing it just because it is a passion project for me. So if you have been welcomed into here and you're like, oh, this is great, but it's lacking a little organization, please know that I am not the map builder here. I'm a fellow traveler in this journey, and we are creating, and it looks just a little bit more cohesive now than it did a few years ago because people have stepped up and are working with me to build out this vision of the Practice Center. But in all honesty, it is my straight up labor of love. And if you are committing to it, that means you are committing to build it, help to build that, and that you are participating in it without a lot of expectations from me, because I am not a boss here currently. I didn't sign any contract, and most of all, I don't get paid to do it. Now, if you pay me to guide you as a one-on-one coach, that would be a separate story, but none of you guys have done that. So this world of the Practice Center, where I'm giving you the booklet that I've created to help guide me in my journey, if that's helpful to you, then right now it's open and free to you, just because I love you, just because I want, just because this work is instrumental in creating, or one tool that is instrumental in creating a little more sense of peace. And I want to contribute to that. I see that as my role. I am helping to create peace within myself and to pass that on. That is what I feel is my calling currently. So if you've been invited into, say, the Zoom chat groups for facilitators, that's because I just want to work with you. And if you have opted out of that, that's okay too. If you want to create something different and create a business entity where you work with your own group of facilitators that feel good to you, then do that. There are a lot of options that are available to you, and it's only limited by your own imagination. This Practice Center thing happens to be my imagination, and then it will grow because of other people's brain powers and imaginations, and through that we'll create magic. Yeah. So if you take the training of trainers with Fred, and you're like, I would like a little bit more hands-on stuff and I want to get in on this work the way that Joey is getting on this work, or kind of the way that I see it, then you would want to sign on additionally to work with the practice center. And that the requirements are kind of getting tightened up. But right now, what that means is that you are willing to share your story, your progress, your process, that you will join in on the monthly meetings. There was a group of us that physically showed up for the annual meeting. There will be a December like rest and renewal retreat for facilitators that you will have to pay for, because I'm, again, this isn't an income piece for me. So what those kinds of things, I'm going to be asking you for your participation until this becomes something else. And I don't know what that is yet. So if you are wanting to participate in those kinds of things, that means you come to the monthly meetings. Like, it would be weird that I'm going to invite you to a retreat that I know a bulk of it that is like, it sounds so weird when I say the goodness of my heart, but the bulk of it is because I like having the exchange with you because you've been participating. I'm not going to invite strangers to those, is what I mean. Yeah, because again, it is under my umbrella, the Practice Center umbrella, which is separate than Fred Luskin's Forgive for Good Work, which you are also welcome to fully lean in on. So here's what the process would look like. You would go through the train the trainer, you would finish. Once you finish, you'll get an email from me with kind of probably a video like this, kind of explaining, oh, congrats, and the next steps. If you want to participate, then you would say, yes, invite me to your facilitator's Zoom chat room, in which case you would accept that invite. And then you would see all of the things that we've been doing, and then determine for yourself how much you want to lean into that process. Yeah. But right now, a lot of this is self-directed. We are co-creating as we go. So if you have a vision for what this specific kind of piecework looks like for you, and you want in on that conversation, then I invite you with open arms. And that arm remains open as long as it feels good and nobody's boundaries are, totally dismantled. So if it feels good and it feels productive, because those are my words, production. I'm a do person, which is why I'm into the be world, because that's how I find my balance. But it is really about production in terms of business. So the Practice Center is a business entity, and I'm in the business of helping people practice the tools that will help them feel a little bit more peaceful, which is mindfulness, forgiveness, and attitudinal healing. I'll talk a little bit more about the attitudinal healing facilitation workshop that'll be coming up in mid to late fall. So if you're like wanting to be in all things Practice Center, I will be making additional videos and sending out more information. So if you are wanting to become a facilitator and you haven't gone to any of the workshop, then please, your first step is to register for the 6-hour workshop that's coming up this week. So you're either emailing me or messaging me about that link. If you've already done some sort of workshop and you're wanting to become a facilitator, is at least take that first step to see what you think about it, then you want to go to the workshop with Fred. And that's happening mid-June or July. So please find that link. It is posted all over. Find that link, register. If you really can't find it, then email me and I'll be happy to send that to you. The next steps are the next steps. After you go through that step, then I'll invite you to the rest of the steps and you'll meet the rest of the facilitators who are really, really active in this process. So I'm hoping that that was a little bit helpful. I invite conversations, questions, comments. If you have a different idea of how to do this better, yeah, I love solutions. I do not like bitching though, like as Brene Brown calls it, that cheap sheet, criticizing from the cheap seats, the cheap seat criticism. Yeah, not down for that, but definitely open for feedback, especially if you have an idea, a solution, or something that you want to offer to this conversation so that we can continue to co-create at least this entity. All right, that's enough for me. Thanks, guys.